is no lie that the majority of medical students use flashcards for their main form of revision or even their source of learning. It can make you doubt yourself when you don't fit into the mould. What if I told you that 70% of medical students actually revised using flashcards? But then I'm going to tell you why I am in the 30% of students who don't. So welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amelia and I'm a second year medical student. So if you haven't already guessed, in this video I'm going to be talking about why I don't use flashcards for my medical school revision. However, before we start, I'm just going to lay a little bit of context as to why I'm actually making this video. So last year I completed my first year of medical school, and what a journey it was. First year is all about learning how to learn. So as you do in first year, I tried out all the different techniques that people use and rave about to learn at medical school. I tried the flashcards, I tried the blurting, the whiteboards, the making notes, the repeating things, you know, every single technique that you could think of, I tried. And to be honest, I was trying to put myself into this mould of using flashcards because literally everybody at medical school used flashcards at this point. When I say everybody, obviously it's not everybody, but the vast majority of people. So I was trying to put myself into this flashcard mould and it just was not working. When I finally came to the conclusion that flashcards weren't working for me, and we'll go into that aspect of things a little bit later, but when I came to that conclusion, I obviously stopped using flashcards and started doing what actually worked for myself. And then for the rest of the year, I really struggled with the number one rule that you're not supposed to break of not comparing myself to other people. I thought because I'm not using flashcard and because every other person is, I'm going to fail the year. And lo and behold, I didn't. I'm still here. I passed the year. I'm in my second year now. I've realised that just because everybody is doing something doesn't mean that you're not going to do well if you're not doing that thing. And I really wanted to talk about this because obviously I went through that whole comparing myself kind of phase to other people and what other people are doing, and I went through the whole I'm going to fail, I'm not going to make it. And I'm sure because I went through it, I'm sure there's other people that are also going through the same thing. So just to lay the law down quickly, I am not saying flashcards don't work, and I am not saying that you shouldn't use them. But what I am saying is they may not work for you, or they may not work for everybody, and just because they work for somebody doesn't mean they will work for you, and it doesn't mean they won't work for you. It is really, 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 really important to find what works for you and to stick at that regardless of what other people are doing. That is the main point of this video that I want to get across. However, I do want to talk about all the reasons that I stopped using flashcards and the reasons why they don't work for me. And that is solely why they don't work for me and my learning style and my individual preferred method of learning, why they don't work for me. So if you're in a similar sort of boat, keep on watching. If you're not in a similar sort of boat and just are intrigued, keep on watching, and let's get into all the reasons why I stopped using my flashcards at medical school. So the first reason why I stopped using flashcards is because I like to learn using big picture learning, and what I mean by that is I like to understand the whole picture of what's going on before I kind of go into the details. So when I learn the big picture, the overall detail of what's going on in very minimal detail. I kind of get a very, very brief blueprint of what is going on, very, very brief with hardly any detail, and then each time I go over it, I like to add a little bit more detail to it, and I go over and add detail and then add more detail and add more detail, and that is how I like to learn. So with flashcards, it is the complete opposite. You're learning little details and then gradually building the big picture up with those little details, and that is the complete opposite to how my brain works. So I found when I was using flashcards, because I couldn't see the big picture and I was just seeing little details and little facts, I couldn't get to the stage where I had the big picture because it just didn't fit with how my brain works and how my brain processes information. Following on from that, I found that for me, flashcards was more memorizing information rather than understanding. And don't get me wrong, it is so important to have both. Like, you need to remember stuff, you need to memorize stuff, and you also need to understand it. But I can't remember something if I don't understand it. That's kind of following on from the big picture concept, but I really need to understand the process before I can remember it. For example, if I've got a process and I don't understand one little bit of it and it's not logical and it doesn't make sense, I can't move on from that. Like, I have to figure it out and I have to make it make sense in my brain before I can carry on, because otherwise, if it's not logical, if it doesn't make sense to me, then I just won't remember it. So I found when I was using flashcards, I was literally just memorizing what was on the other side of that card, because it didn't make sense, because I was literally just remembering the other side of the card. I wasn't really understanding the process of what was going on. Following on from that, because it was more pattern recognition of what was actually on the other side of the card, I didn't understand the concept. And then when it came to answering questions which involved understanding the concept and applying that to a scenario, I couldn't answer the question because I didn't understand it to apply it. I just more memorized what was on the other side of the card. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. So the third reason to go along with that little bundle is you're not just training to pass exams. And while you do need to pass exams, you also need to bear in mind, like, you're going to be a doctor as well, and you're actually going to have to know these processes as your job. Like, that is what you're working towards. So for me, if I don't understand the process, how am I going to apply that to a real life scenario when I'm working as a doctor? Some people can use flashcards and it works for them, and that is really, really great. And some people can use them and they understand what's going on and they can follow the information and they can put it together and make it all make sense in their head. But my brain just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't click. And for that reason, it doesn't really make sense to use flashcards. So that's another reason why I don't use flashcards. I am going to throw a little bit of a curveball now with the next thing I'm about to talk about, which is, for me, flashcards are very topic dependent. So I am not saying I don't use flashcards at all. I'm saying I don't use flashcards as my main source of learning and my main source of revision. However, I do find that flashcards for me do work for some things. And when I say some things, I mean the things that I literally just have to remember, and I do just have to memorize. Stuff like pharmacology or anatomy, things that it's not really about understanding what's going on, it's just about remembering it. And some things you do have to come to the conclusion that there's not really any logic to this, I just need to remember it. And for those things, I do use flashcards. So for pharmacology, you just have to remember the drug and about the drug, and it's not really about understanding about it, it's just about remembering it. And I found that flashcards for that kind of topic are so good because they're quick, they're efficient, you can just bang them out really quick, cover a lot of information in a short space of time, and for that it really works for me. I just wanted to add that in because you might not be a flashcard kind of person, but it doesn't mean you need to rule out flashcards completely, or whatever you are doing might not work for something else you're doing. Like, I think in medicine, learning is very topic dependent, and that goes for flashcards and other types of learning. If we get back onto the topic of the video, next is the commitment it takes to actually do reviews for flashcards. Like, got to hold it up to the people who keep on top of their reviews and keep on top of their flashcards and whatever else. It's like another full-time job. It is literally like a full-time job, and I genuinely don't know how they do it. But for me, I just wouldn't want to be like tied down to having to revise a certain topic when an app tells me to revise that topic. Like, for some people it really, really works, and I know you've got the whole algorithm and like the spaced repetition, and it's like calculated using an algorithm. But personally, this might be a little bit controversial, but I just feel like I know myself best, like, rather over an app, if that makes sense. Like, I would rather revise what I want to revise when I want to revise it. And it's not so much when I want to revise it, but I know what I need to do to get to where I need to be. I like to like kind of be in control of my revision myself, and I don't really want an app to like have to dictate what I revise when. Like, I would rather be in control of that. Obviously, some people use flashcards like in different ways to others. It's not like a one size fits all. But in terms of like the reviewing information when you need to review it, like, I just wouldn't want to do that. But with that being said, I'm not saying it doesn't work, I'm just saying it doesn't work for me. And obviously I have spoken about apps like Anki and spaced repetition and those kind of techniques in other videos because they do work and they are scientifically proven to work. And I know so many people who they work for. Like, a lot of my friends use flashcards, a lot of my friends use Anki, and when I tell you, these are some of the smartest people I know. Like, genuinely, they are some of the smartest people I know. Like, it is scientifically proven to work. But it also doesn't mean it is going to work. Like, it doesn't mean it has to work for everyone. It is so learner dependent, and that is the main thing I'm trying to get across with this video. So that's going to bring me on to my last point, kind of, which is I just find them boring. Like, there's no easy way to say that, but I just find like flashing cards boring, and I find that especially in periods like exam season, when you are studying for a long amount of time and you're spending most of your days studying because you're getting ready for exams, or even like earlier on in the year when you're studying, not as intense, but you're studying at least. I find to study, I need to be enjoying what I'm doing, and like, it's a controversial opinion, but I do think you can enjoy studying. I'm not saying you have to always enjoy studying, but in general, I do enjoy studying, and I don't think I could study as much as I do if I wasn't enjoying myself, if that makes sense. For that reason, I have to study in a way that I enjoy and a way that's going to mentally stimulate myself. And flashing cards is just not that way. I find it very boring. I find it very tedious, like literally just sat there reading a question, clicking a button, saying the answer. It's just not mentally stimulating to me. It doesn't keep my brain engaged, so my brain ends up wandering, thinking, oh, what I'm having for tea or what I'm doing the weekend. So I'm not even paying attention to what's going on or what is even on the back of the card. I get bored a lot quicker and a lot easier, which means I don't even want to be doing it. So I'm thinking of ways to get myself out of what I'm doing, like, oh, should I go and get a drink? Oh, should I go on a walk? Oh, do I need the toilet? Oh, let me go and say hi to this person. Like, I'm thinking of everything I can do to not be flashing the card. And I also feel like I'm very passive as well. Like, I'm like, oh, I know the answer to that, and like I don't actually know the answer to that. So they are some of the reasons why I don't use flashcards for my main bulk revision at medical school. As I said earlier, I do use flashcards for certain things, like very, very minor use of flashcards, and it is more just to consolidate rather than the main bulk of learning, main bulk of revision. Like, main time, I'm on a whiteboard writing things out from memory and then adding things in. That is what I mainly do, and I find that works really, really well for me, and I find it keeps my brain engaged, and the use of colour, different pens, that is where my brain is at. With that being said, it is so important, and I've said it throughout this video, but I really just want to say it again. It is so important to find what works for you and stick at that. Do not compare yourself to other people. Do not compare yourself to what other people are doing, because like, you're the one sitting your exams, you're the one who needs to pass the exams, so it doesn't matter what works for somebody else. At the end of the day, it matters what works for you, whether that is flashing cards, whether that is Anki, whether that is whiteboard work, whether that's blurting, whether that's reading, listening, watching videos, mixing it up, doing a bit of everything, who knows. But yeah, it's so important to keep that in mind. As I said, I just really want to make this video to show that it is fine to be different, and like, it's not a one size fit all kind of thing. Medicine, revision, studying in general, like, just do what works for you. And they are some of the reasons why I stopped following the trend of using flashcards. So yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful. If it has been helpful, I would really love it if you would like and comment down below and subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again, and I shall see you in the next one.